Thank you for choosing wisdom of the Dharma. If you found this video insightful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss a new update. Your support helps us keep sharing powerful, life-changing wisdom with the world. And don't forget to drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's grow and learn together. Have you ever wondered why some families seem to prosper effortlessly while others, though hardworking, always feel as if their luck is slipping through their fingers? In Buddhism, we say wealth does not simply come from what you earn, it also comes from what you keep. And what you keep is not only money in a safe or gold in a drawer, but also the subtle anchors of fortune that live quietly inside your home. This may sound abstract, but think of it this way. In the teachings of the Buddha, contentment, knowing enough, is already the highest form of wealth. When your house holds rice, when your kitchen keeps salt, when your altar preserves the flame of devotion, you are surrounded by living symbols of sufficiency. They may look ordinary, yet they are like roots beneath the soil. Uproot them carelessly, and even a grand tree can wither. The ancient masters of Feng Shui understood this deeply. They called certain items guardians of fortune, objects that preserve the balance of energy in your dwelling. It was never about superstition, but about honoring the unseen exchanges between your space and your destiny. A broom standing at the wrong threshold, a photograph discarded without respect, a jar of water poured out at the wrong time, all of these actions carry quiet consequences. They are like leaving a door unlatched in the middle of the night. You may not notice at first, but over time the wind of misfortune slips in. What is new in our conversation today is that we are not simply repeating the old taboos. We are looking at them through two lenses, the timeless wisdom of Buddhist philosophy and the practical logic of energy and Feng Shui. Buddhism teaches us that every action leaves an imprint, and Feng Shui shows us that every corner of the home mirrors the state of the mind. When combined, they reveal why even a grain of rice or an old key can decide whether prosperity settles or drifts away. So in this journey, I invite you to see your home not as a box of objects, but as a living mandala, every item a prayer, every placement a choice. Stay with me until the end, because I will share not only what should never leave your home, but also the rituals that can restore balance if mistakes were made, and the affirmations that can train your mind to welcome abundance like an old friend. Food and kitchen essentials. When you open your kitchen cabinet and see rice, salt, water, and bread, you may think of them as simple groceries. Yet in both Buddhism and Feng Shui, these humble staples are nothing less than the pillars of abundance. They are not only nutrition, they are living reminders that your household is cared for, provided for, and connected to the wider web of life. Rice has always been considered the body of sufficiency. A single grain represents life and continuity. Elders once said, "Better to give away gold than to give away rice," because rice was seen as the direct substance of survival. I recall a family who felt that money slipped through their hands each month despite hard work. A teacher advised them to start every Monday by placing a spoonful of fresh rice into a small jar, whispering, "Thanks for the week ahead." Within months, not only did their finances stabilize, but the family also reported feeling more grateful and less anxious. Rice did not make them rich overnight. It trained them to see themselves as already provided for. Salt carries a different, but equally vital energy. Across cultures it is used for purification, sprinkled at thresholds, kept in small bowls to absorb negativity. In Buddhist practice, salt can symbolize clarity, the ability to preserve wisdom in daily life. I once knew a shop owner who kept a pinch of salt in a small dish by her register. She said it reminded her to stay clear-minded with customers and not let irritation cloud her dealings. That little gesture helped her treat each transaction as a chance to sow trust, and her loyal clientele grew steadily. Salt, then, is not only for food but for mental seasoning. Water is perhaps the most dynamic element, representing both fortune and Dharma. We pour water on the altar as an offering of purity. Yet in everyday life, many people pour water away without thought, especially at the start of a day, week, or month. Energetically, this resembles sending wealth out the door before it can gather. A young professional I worked with shifted this habit. Instead of emptying glasses in the morning, she poured the first water of the day onto her plant. That act of directing the flow inward gave her a sense of growth and rootedness. Soon after, she found herself handling money with more care. And then there is bread, the symbol of transformation. Grain is ground, kneaded, baked, and becomes a staple that can be shared. In Feng Shui it is linked with stability and community. In Buddhism, bread can remind us of interdependence, the farmer, the miller, the baker, all contributing to one loaf. Together, rice, salt, water, and bread form what I call a kitchen mandala of prosperity. They nourish body and spirit, and they teach us to give without leaking, to keep without clinging. When treated with reverence, these everyday staples turn the kitchen into a sanctuary of sufficiency, a place where wealth is not just counted in coins, but experienced in the feeling of being already blessed. Energy in printed objects. Not all wealth is measured in coins or contracts. Much of it is hidden in the invisible threads of personal energy woven into the objects we touch every day. Clothes that warmed us through sleepless nights, a ring that stayed on our hand for years, a photo that captured a family's laughter, or even a candle burned in prayer. These items may look ordinary, yet they carry deep imprints. In Buddhism, every action leaves a vasana, a subtle trace. Feng Shui echoes this truth, teaching that our environment absorbs and mirrors our emotions. Clothing is more than fabric. Each time we wear something, our body heat and our moods sink into its fibers. Even after washing, a memory remains. Think about the sweater you always reach for when comfort is needed. It calms you because it holds an echo of your own settled state. I once met a woman who gave away a robe she had worn during long months of illness. Not long after, she felt oddly restless, as if part of her still clung to that robe. When she learned to cleanse clothes with salt water and sunlight before letting them go, the sense of unease vanished. The lesson is simple: clothing tied to strong experiences should be released only with mindfulness. Jewelry carries even more concentrated energy. Rings, bracelets, and necklaces rest directly on our pulse points, where blood and energy flow. Over time they become like personal talismans. I recall a young man who wore a simple silver ring through his most challenging years of study abroad. When he gave it to a cousin without any ritual of release, he suddenly felt as though his confidence had been siphoned off. Once he performed a small cleansing, incense, gratitude, and a clear farewell, the heaviness lifted. Jewelry is powerful precisely because it rests so close to our life force. Handle it with respect. Family photographs are perhaps the most obvious carriers of emotional resonance. A single image can bring tears or laughter within seconds. In Buddhist temples, images of teachers and ancestors are always placed high, never on the floor, to honor the line of transmission. Similarly, photos at home represent more than decoration, they embody connection. Discarding them carelessly can feel like discarding a piece of your lineage. I've seen families renew harmony simply by reorganizing their photo wall with intention and gratitude. Even a burned candle holds echoes. Each flame once carried a wish, a prayer, or a moment of remembrance. When extinguished, the wax still retains the residue of that intention. Throwing it away like common trash can disturb the subtle peace it created. A simple ritual, snuffing the wick, whispering thanks, and burying the remnants in soil, transforms the act into closure rather than loss. The guiding principle is this: any item that has touched you deeply is no longer just an object. It has become a vessel of your story. Buddhism reminds us not to cling, but also not to discard carelessly. Feng Shui teaches that when energy is released respectfully, space is cleared without depletion. So before you give away or throw out such items, pause. Offer gratitude. Perform a simple cleansing. In doing so, you protect not only your prosperity energy but also the integrity of your heart. Time and flow symbols. Some objects in the home are not simply tools, they are symbols of rhythm and flow. Coins, clocks, keys, and even empty bottles may appear trivial, yet in both Buddhist thought and Feng Shui, they mirror the way we move through time, opportunity, and control. Treat them lightly, and the rhythm of life itself can stumble. Coins and small bills carry more than market value. Each coin has passed through countless hands, carrying the vibration of exchange and continuity. In Feng Shui, even a few coins kept in a jar by the stove or near the southeast corner of the home symbolize an ongoing stream of prosperity. I once advised a man who constantly found loose change in random corners, often tossed into drawers. His finances were equally scattered. When he gathered the coins into one bowl and placed it with intention, he began to feel steadier. Money is not only counted, it is respected. Clocks remind us that time is the greatest fortune. A broken or silent clock in the living room is like a frozen river, it signals stagnation. In Buddhism, impermanence is central. Everything flows. To leave a clock unmended is to ignore that teaching. I visited a household where a clock had hung stopped for years. The family admitted they felt stuck, unable to move forward. When the clock was repaired, they laughed at the coincidence of sudden momentum, 2 new job opportunities within a month. Sometimes the outer rhythm helps reset the inner one. Old keys are carriers of access and agency. Every key once opened a space, marking a chapter of life. In Buddhist psychology, keys can symbolize the ability to unlock potential. Discarding them mindlessly is like surrendering control without acknowledgement. I once met a retired locksmith who kept his unused keys in a small wooden box, offering incense once a year. He said it was his way of honoring doors he had once opened. That respect seemed to echo in his calm, steady presence. Empty bottles or jars, often overlooked, are hollow vessels that absorb stagnant energy. Feng Shui warns that cluttered hollows near doorways or windows can block fresh qi. Spiritually, they resemble unmet desires, containers with nothing fulfilling them. A young woman I taught began recycling empties weekly instead of leaving them piled under her sink. She told me that clearing those bottles coincided with her clearing debts. She no longer tolerated emptiness in her finances. The lesson of these 4 items is clear: respect the symbols of flow. Coins represent the circulation of wealth, clocks the rhythm of life, keys the power of agency, and bottles the state of receptivity. Buddhism teaches us to recognize impermanence. Feng Shui shows us how to align with it. When we keep these objects with awareness, or release them with ritual, we step into a rhythm where prosperity can move freely, like water through a cleared channel. Feng Shui pillars. Every home rests not only on beams and bricks but also on energetic pillars, objects that silently support the flow of life. Among them, plants, soil, kitchen fire, and sacred statues stand out as guardians of stability. To treat these lightly is like loosening the foundation of your own prosperity. Plants are living magnets of vitality. Each leaf transforms sunlight into energy, echoing the Buddhist truth that life renews itself when conditions come together. In Feng Shui, a thriving plant draws fresh qi into a room. Yet giving away a healthy plant that has adapted to your home is like handing someone else your growing fortune. I once counseled a couple who gifted their flourishing money tree to a friend. Soon after, they both felt listless and noticed opportunities slipping by. When they replanted a new tree with mindful dedication, mixing a handful of the old soil into the new, their sense of energy returned. Plants are more than decoration, they are companions in growth. Soil deserves equal respect. It is the element of foundation, representing steadiness in the 5 elements. Many people throw out potting soil when changing plants, unaware that it has absorbed layers of household energy. To discard it carelessly is to cast away stability. A more mindful practice is to return old soil to the earth, into a garden bed or at the base of a tree, symbolically offering back the blessings it once held. Buddhism teaches gratitude toward even the smallest support. Soil is the literal ground of gratitude. The kitchen fire is another pillar. It is the heart flame of the home, transforming raw food into nourishment. Across cultures, the hearth has symbolized the soul of the household. In Feng Shui, sharing fire from your stove at the start of a year or month is seen as sending away your vitality. A neighbor once told me she used to pass fire to others during festivals, thinking it built community. But she also noticed recurring arguments in her home. When she stopped sharing her flame and instead shared cooked food with loving intention, harmony returned. Fire is meant to warm your family first, share its results, not its source. Sacred statues and altar objects are perhaps the most powerful pillars. A Buddha image, a figure of the wealth god, or even a simple candle used for prayer is more than decoration. Once installed, it becomes a bridge to higher values and blessings. To discard such an item without ritual is to sever a spiritual thread abruptly. In Buddhist temples, old statues are never thrown away, they are either enshrined, buried with respect, or ritually released. At home, if you need to let go, light incense, bow, and thank the object before returning it to the earth or placing it in a temple's care. Together, these 4 pillars, plants, soil, fire, and sacred images, hold up the invisible architecture of fortune. Care for them with respect, and your home will breathe strength and abundance. Treat them carelessly, and you may feel your life wobble on unseen foundations. Overlooked leaks. Not all threats to prosperity come from obvious mistakes. Sometimes, it is the smallest, most ordinary items, things we barely notice, that quietly drain fortune away. Trash, brooms, scattered shoes, and even tear-soaked tissues can act as leaks in the vessel of abundance. Both Buddhism and Feng Shui warn us, when the everyday is ignored, the sacred is weakened. Trash seems harmless, yet it symbolizes stagnation and decay. In Feng Shui, leaving garbage inside the house overnight, especially near the door, kitchen, or bedside, blocks the flow of fresh qi. From a Buddhist lens, trash reflects mental clutter, unresolved thoughts and unexamined emotions. A family I once guided transformed their finances not by earning more, but by adopting the habit of clearing waste before bed. They said waking up to a clean bin gave them a feeling of readiness, as if new opportunities had room to enter. Brooms are tools of cleansing, but placement matters. A broom left upright at the entrance symbolically sweeps blessings out the door. In temples, brooms are always stored discreetly, lying low, their bristles inward. This practice reflects humility, cleaning without disturbing auspicious energy. I recall an elderly monk who wrapped worn-out brooms in paper sprinkled with salt before discarding them. He explained, "Even what has served us deserves gratitude." That simple respect kept the act of cleaning aligned with preservation, not loss. Shoes by the main door are another subtle leak. The entrance is the mouth of qi, where energy enters the home. When cluttered with worn shoes, it becomes blocked, stale, and uninviting. Spiritually, shoes carry the dust and vibrations of every place we've walked. Leaving them in piles at the threshold is like dragging outside turbulence into sacred space. One household found that simply organizing their entryway, limiting shoes to 1 pair per person, adding a mat and a small bowl with 3 coins, dramatically shifted their mood. The father joked, "Even my boss treats me better now." When the entrance is clear, life greets you more kindly. Tear-soaked tissues may seem insignificant, yet they hold powerful emotional residue. Tears carry sorrow, anger, or longing. If tissues are left tucked under pillows or hidden behind furniture, that heavy energy lingers, amplifying sadness. In Buddhism, tears are part of release. Clinging to them is clinging to suffering. A woman who kept tissues from her late mother's funeral found herself unable to move forward in grief. Only when she burned them safely, whispering gratitude, did she feel a sense of closure. Letting go of such items allows the heart to heal and the home to breathe. The overlooked leaks remind us of a larger truth. Abundance is not lost in one grand event, but through countless small openings. Keep trash cleared, store brooms with care, tidy shoes at the threshold, and discard tissues of sorrow. In doing so, you seal the vessel of fortune, allowing blessings to gather without slipping away unseen. Corrective rituals. Even if we have already let fortune leak through careless habits, the good news is that energy can always be renewed. Buddhism teaches that karma is not a fixed sentence, it is reshaped in every mindful moment. Feng Shui, too, offers practical methods to redirect flow. Here are 5 corrective rituals, reframed with fresh insights. 1. The 7-coin cinnamon spiral. Many know the classic version: coins, cinnamon, and a green candle. The new emphasis is not on the objects themselves but on the mindset of cycle completion. In Buddhist thought, 7 symbolizes the passage through obstacles toward renewal. Place coins in a circle, light the candle, and visualize debts as lessons already learned. This shifts the ritual from calling money in to closing old karmic accounts so abundance has space to enter. 2. Red thread, honey, and bay leaf. Often seen as a talisman for attraction, this trio can also embody interdependence. The red thread reflects connection, honey the sweetness of harmony, and the bay leaf the victory of effort. While tying, add a Buddhist element. Silently wish the same blessing for someone else. When prosperity is linked to compassion, it becomes harder to lose, because it serves more than one household. 3. Full moon rice and apple planting. Traditionally, this ritual uses rice, coins, and moon water. The new perspective is to treat it as an act of embodiment. Eat the apple mindfully the next day, recognizing abundance as something you literally take into yourself. In this way, wealth stops being an external hope and becomes part of your own body's rhythm. 4. Honey salt doorway cleanse. Yes, wiping the door clears stagnant energy. But the fresh approach is to pair it with a gatha, a short verse. For example, opening the door, I welcome joy; closing the door, I keep wisdom in. The physical act cleanses the wood, the spoken word cleanses the mind. Both together create a seal far stronger than ritual alone. 5. Daily affirmations. Instead of repeating generic wealth mantras, use lines rooted in Dharma. For instance, enoughness is wealth, diligence is my path. Such affirmations reframe prosperity as both inner contentment and outer effort. When recited daily in the mirror, they train the subconscious not in craving, but in rightful confidence. These corrective practices are not spells. They are tools to align your body, mind, and space with the truth that abundance arises when gratitude, clarity, and right intention are present. Performed this way, Each ritual becomes not superstition but spiritual hygiene, cleaning the windows so light can once again enter freely. Real life story. Several years ago, I met a young entrepreneur named Daniel who had recently opened a small cafe. He poured his heart into the business, yet profits were inconsistent. Customers came, but somehow money never seemed to stay. When I visited his cafe, I noticed two things immediately: a broken wall clock that had been hanging unmoving for months, and a potted plant at the entrance that he had given to a friend just a week earlier. Daniel admitted he had thought little of either choice. The clock was simply decoration, and the plant was a gift of kindness. Yet, energetically, both were silent leaks. In Buddhist terms, the broken clock was like ignoring impermanence. Time had stalled in his space. The missing plant meant his prosperity magnet had been handed away before it had matured. I suggested two small corrections. First, he repaired the clock and placed it where both staff and customers could see its steady movement. Second, he brought in a new plant, dedicating its growth to the stability of the cafe. I asked him to whisper a short verse each morning as he watered it. May this life grow. May this business be nourished. May all who enter find comfort. 3 months later, Daniel wrote to me. Not only had his revenue improved, but he also felt calmer, more purposeful. The cafe became known in the neighborhood not just for coffee, but for the warmth it radiated. The story is simple yet profound. Wealth does not always depend on drastic measures. Sometimes, repairing a rhythm and planting new roots, with awareness and gratitude, is enough to shift the tide. Prosperity follows when both environment and intention move in harmony. Lessons and reflection. When we step back from all the details, the rice in the jar, the broom at the doorway, the plant by the window, a single truth emerges. Prosperity is not only about what we earn, but how we relate to what surrounds us. In Buddhism, wealth is not measured in coins, but in tri-tuk, the wisdom of knowing enough. Feng Shui reminds us that even the smallest placement in a home can affirm or disrupt this truth. From our journey together, 5 clear lessons rise up. Rice, salt, water, bread remind us of sufficiency. Care for them with gratitude. Clothes, jewelry, photos, candles carry echoes of our lives. Release them with mindfulness, not haste. Coins, clocks, keys, bottles are symbols of flow. Repair, gather, or cleanse them to keep fortune moving. Plants, soil, fire, statues are the pillars of energy. Protect them as you would the beams of your house. Trash, brooms, shoes, tears may look insignificant, yet they leak fortune. Seal those openings and abundance will stay. Together, these lessons echo a Buddhist reflection. Every act, no matter how small, leaves an imprint. When you respect objects, you are truly respecting your own mind. When you clean your home with awareness, you are also clearing karma. In this way, prosperity is not superstition, but a natural result of living consciously. If you have made mistakes, remember this: karma can be renewed. Perform a simple ritual, whisper a verse of gratitude, and realign your intention. Wealth will return, because the conditions for abundance are always waiting to be invited. So, before you leave, I invite you to plant your intention here. Write in the comments, I will keep abundance in my home. Think of it not as mere words, but as the first stone in a new foundation. If this teaching has touched you, please like the video, subscribe to Wisdom of the Dharma, and share it with someone who needs light in their home. Together, let us build a community that lives with clarity, gratitude, and sufficiency. Because true wealth does not begin in the bank, it begins in the heart that knows how to protect and cherish what it already has.